Kesubos Daf continues the Gemara's discussion of Chazaka. We're talking about Cheskas Mamon against Cheskas Haguf. Cheskas Mamon is the assumption that the one who's holding the money gets to keep it and you can't take it away from him unless you have proof that he owes it. Cheskas Haguf is the assumption that whatever situation we know was the starting situation, we assume that if it changed as late in the game as possible, and whatever halacha follows from that is the halacha that we decide. So we're talking about a case where these two factors contradict each other. The case that we have is where a woman was found with a mum, and the question is, did she develop the mum before Kiddushin or after Kiddushin? If she developed it before Kiddushin, and the husband was not aware of it at the time of Kiddushin, the Kiddushin was a mekach tois, and he does not owe her a ksuba. If on the other hand she developed the mum after Kiddushin, so then she was already the husband's wife at that time, and it's something that he already took into his possession, which then got ruined, and therefore he does owe her a ksuba. Now, the husband is known with the money, so he has the cheskas mamon, but cheskas haguf says that it came as late as possible, and it came after Kiddushin, and therefore it's his problem, and he owes it. So cheskas haguf says that the mum came as late as possible, and he owes the money. Cheskas mamon says he gets to keep the money. Which one do we follow? So Gemara's already shown whenever you have cheskas haguf against cheskas mamon is a machlokes between Rav Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua. We're trying to explain pshat in our Mishnah. The Mishnah says it depends where she was at the time the mum was discovered. If she was still in her father's house, then you say the burden of proof is on the father and the husband does not have to pay. If she was already moved into her husband's house, then you say the burden of proof is on the husband and he has to pay if he cannot prove that he does not have to pay. The Gemara says, what does it make a difference where he lives? If you're following cheskas mamon in this case, so then the husband should not have to pay. If you're following cheskas haguf, so then the husband should have to pay. What effect does it have where she was and when it was discovered? So the Gemara has already given one answer. The Gemara now gives the second answer, starting several lines into the daf. The Gemara brings the answer of Rav Ashi, who says that when she's in her father's house, if the husband would give a ksuba, it wouldn't go to her, it would go to her father, because she's considered to be only an arusa. And the halacha is that ksubas arusa goes to her father. So therefore, when she's arguing with the husband, she's not really saying, you owe me money, the ksuba. She's saying, you owe my father money. In that case, her cheskas haguf does not help the father. Cheskas haguf only helps when she's the one who's claiming. The father cannot use cheskas haguf. Therefore, as long as she's in her father's house, there's no cheskas haguf, there's only cheskas mamon, and the husband's going to win and be able to hold on to his money. His ksuba doesn't need to pay it. However, once she has moved into his house, now she's claiming that she gets the money herself. The father is now out of the picture. It's ksubas nesua, it goes to her. And therefore she's saying you owe it to me. Therefore cheskas haguf does help. And we're going to Rav Gamliel, who holds that cheskas haguf beats cheskas mamon. Now there's a kasha. We have seen Bryce that quotes Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is the Tanakh in the Mishnah. And Rabbi Meir says that even if she moved into her husband's house, if she has a mum which is ro'oi to come in her father's house, which the Gemara assumes means it's the type of mum that could have pre-existed, we don't know when it arrived, then the burden of proof remains on the father, even though she's already in her husband's house. It means that the husband wins, even if he's in her house, as long as it's a mum that could have come earlier. So this should work according to the strategy that you just said. And once you move into the husband's house, we follow chazaka, we follow cheskas haguf over cheskas mamon. The husband should lose. How come the husband wins? So Gemara answers, that's not what it means when it says ru'uyin lava imam yivesavia. It doesn't mean a mum that could have come earlier or later. It means a mum that definitely came before she got married, such as if she has an extra finger that didn't grow after the Kiddushin, it was definitely there before. So Gemara says, well, it was definitely there before, so what's the question? It was definitely there before, and the husband definitely has a point. He was definitely fooled. So we said if the husband brings a raya that it was later, if the husband brings a raya that it was before, if the father brings a raya that it came later, then he won't have to pay. What do you mean the father brings a raya? What's the father going to bring a raya? It's an extra finger, so nothing to bring a raya to. So says the bringing a raya is that he can prove that the husband knew about it, that the husband saw she has an extra finger and he wasn't bothered by it. That would be a situation in which the father brings a raya and therefore the husband loses. He cannot claim that he was fooled. The Gemara now moves on to talk about another case of chazaka, cheskas mamon, and cheskas haguf. The Gemara is going to try to prove from our Mishnah what halacha. So the Gemara brings a statement of Yehuda Amar Shmuel in the following case: you have a cow farmer and a donkey farmer, and they want to switch. They want to trade a cow for a donkey. So the donkey farmer did a meshicha, he did a kinyan on the cow from the cow farmer, and therefore he pulled it, he took possession of the cow, and the understanding was that as soon as he takes possession of the cow, was going to transfer possession of one of his donkeys, or his only donkey, to the owner of the cow, to the original cow farmer. Now, the donkey wasn't here, so we don't know exactly what happened, but when we came back to the donkey was dead. So the question is, did the donkey die before the Meshicha, before the kinyan was done on the cow, and therefore it was lost to the donkey farmer, and he owes him another donkey? Or did the donkey die after the kinyan was done, and therefore the cow farmer lost the donkey, and he does not get another donkey? Or if he wants to buy another one, he could buy another one, but he's the one that lost. So that's the Gemara's question. What's at stake here? So the donkey farmer is the one who's owning the money. He already has possession of the cow, and he's claiming that he doesn't have to give anything else. He doesn't have to give a donkey because the donkey was alive at the time that he gave it. On the other hand, Cheskas Haguf would say that the donkey was in his possession all along, and we assume that it was still in his possession at the time that he died. So the Cheskas Haguf would say that he lost the donkey, and therefore he needs to give another one. So here the Psak Halacha says over here the name of Shmuel that he has to prove that the donkey was alive, otherwise he has to either give back the cow or give another donkey. So the owner of the donkey loses. So that means the one of Cheskas Mamon seems to lose. So Cheskas Haguf beats Cheskas Mamon. So Shmuel continues and he says that the case of the Kala is a proof to this halacha. So Gemara says, what is he referring to that the case of Kala is a proof? So Gemara's going to go back to our Mishnah. The Gemara's going to assume, like our first answer in the Mishnah explaining why it's not contradictory, how the Mishnah works. We're assuming like the first answer that there's two different halachas said by two different people, and that really it has nothing to do with where she was, whether she was in the father's house or she was in her house. The Reisha says if she was in the father's house, the father has to bring a proof, and the husband wins, would say that even if she was in the husband's house. That the Reisha just holds that the husband wins no matter what, because you follow Cheskas Mamon. The Seifa says if she was in the husband's house, then the husband has to bring proof, otherwise the father wins. It's assuming that the husband is always going to lose because you follow Cheskas Haguf. And that's true even if she was in the father's house. So the Reisha says you follow Cheskas Mamon. The Seifa says you follow Cheskas Haguf. So the Gemara wants to say, so maybe what it means when it says there's a proof is the proof is from the Reisha, where we saw clearly that we follow Cheskas Mamon. So Gemara says that's not what's going on over here. That can't be a proof to this halacha, because over here we just said that the muhsik loses, and over there you're telling me that the muhsik wins. So it's definitely not a proof. So the Gemara says, so the proof is from the Seifa. The proof is from the second case. And over there we said that the muhsik loses. So here also the muhsik loses. Over there, if the husband loses, and he has to give the ksuba unless he can prove his position. So here the donkey farmer loses, and he has to give another donkey unless he can prove his position that the donkey was alive at the time that he did the meshicha on the cow. Says the Gemara, that can't be the pshat either. That's not a raya. Because in the case of the mum, at least there's a cheskas haguf. Cheskas haguf clearly says she developed the mum as late as possible in the house of the husband, and therefore the burden of proof is on the husband. However, over here there is no clear cheskas haguf that helps out the owner of the cow, that helps out the cow farmer, because the cheskas haguf could go either way. If you look at the cheskas haguf as what was, says the Gemara, the proof could be on the kesef kedushin. Alive now as well. It died as late as possible. That means that the Cheskas Haguf should clearly be saying that it died in the rishos of the cow farmer, and therefore the donkey farmer should win. So it still doesn't match up. You can't possibly bring a proof from there. Says the Gemara, the proof could be on the Kesef Kedushin. It could be on not the whether or not you have to bring a raya and therefore give the ksuba, but it could be on the money of the kedushin that was given by the husband to the daughter. Now, in that situation, if the kedushin is being canceled, do you have to give back the money of the kesef kedushin? Who's the muhsik on that? The girl, the woman is the muhsik on that. And on that, we're still saying in the Reisha that when the mum was found in the father's house, we assume that the Kiddushin is canceled and she has to give it back. So there is no, the rule is not because of Cheskes Mamon, not because the husband wins because of Cheskes Mamon, because even the Kesef Kiddushin has to be given back, and on that, the husband didn't have Cheskes Mamon. So therefore, you clearly see that it's not the Chazaka that is the issue over here. It's not the Cheskes Mamon which is the issue over here. Now, the Gemara points out this idea that money of Kiddushin goes back. It's a machlokes when a man and woman get engaged and he gives Kiddushin and then the marriage never works out because he dies. Does the Kesef Kiddushin go back? So that's irrelevant to this. So over here, if the marriage is canceled, the Kesef Kiddushin is for sure going to go back because the whole Kiddushin was a mistake. So everybody agree, even if you say that once the Kiddushin is given, it doesn't go back, just because of the death of the husband, here you're going to agree that it will go back because it's based on a mistake. Now, the Gemara has another kasha on Shmuel's halacha. Shmuel said that the mochzik loses, the one who's holding the money loses. So the Gemara brings a proof, one of many in Shas, that the mochzik wins. So this is a case coming from Hilchos Treifos, where it says if a needle is found in the walls of one of the stomachs of an animal, so if it's only stuck into the wall and it doesn't come out the other side, it's kosher. If it goes through and through, it's treif. Now, maybe it was stuck in after the shechita, and therefore it doesn't affect the halacha. So if it has a drop of blood, so you know it was before shechita. If it doesn't have a drop of blood, you know it was after shechita. Okay, so if it has a drop of blood, it's treif. Now, what if the drop of blood is dried? Then it was at least 3 days before the shechita. Why do we care? Because if the butcher who bought it within 3 days of the shechita, that means it was treif beforehand. It's already treif for at least 3 days, and the person who sold it him has to give him the money back. Now, if it's not dried, or if we do not have a scab of any sort, then with suffix, we don't know. We don't know if he bought it treif or if it became treif in his hands. So what do you do then? So whoever's holding the money gets to keep it. So Gemara says, according to Shmuel, why should that be? You shouldn't follow the mochzik at all. You should say that the owner of the animal has to bring a proof in order to keep the money. So the Gemara answers no. It's talking about where the butcher who bought it from the farmer never gave the money, so the butcher is still holding on to the money, and that's why he gets to keep it. That's why we say now. The idea of here, of course, is that there's a reyes. So you found the sign of treifus at some point, just like in the case of the donkey and the cow. You found the donkey was dead at some point, and that's why you would lose your chazaka. So the Gemara's kasha, therefore, was on Shmuel. The Gemara's answer is that the reisa here helps you because the reisa, the fact that the animal is found to be treif, helps the butcher that he shouldn't have to pay, and the butcher's the one who's the muksik, and that's why we paskin like him. So Gemara says if you read it, it doesn't make any sense. The halacha that was given was a meisa mecharel v'raya. That sounds like in all situations, whoever is holding the money wins. That's not what you said. You said that it's only true in the case where the butcher's holding the money. There's a halacha that the butcher's always the one holding the money. That's how you say a meisa mecharel v'raya. That language doesn't make sense if you're just saying that the butcher's the one who wins. All you mean to say is the butcher's the one who wins because of the reisa, not that he has that the one who's the Meiser Mechaver is always the one who loses. Says the Gemara, we therefore have to change our understanding of what Shmuel said at all. And indeed, when Omer Cheskel came from Eretz Yisrael, he said, don't listen to the way Yehuda, my brother, says over Shmuel's halachas. It's not what Shmuel said. Shmuel did not say that the owner of the Chomer always loses. Shmuel said whoever's Rishus, the suffix was Noilad in, he is the one that loses. He's the one who has to bring the proof. And the one whose Rishus is considered to be in is the owner of the cow, because since the kinyan on the cow is performed, that moves the situation, as far as we can tell, into his Rishus. The donkey is now his. And now we want to come and say, hold on a second, we know he's in his Rishus, was he alive or dead? So that's already considered to be his Rishus, so the suffix is not in his Rishus, and therefore we would paskin that the owner of the cow is the one who needs to lose, and that's what we're saying. Now, when he said that that's proven from our Mishnah, it's very clearly supported from our Mishnah, according to our latter understanding on the last daf of what pshat is in the Mishnah, that wherever the mum was found, that's where there's leidas, that's where the suffix begins, that's the person who has to bring the proof. So he's saying the same thing here, that the suffix began in the property in the property in the rishus of the owner of the cow, and that's why he's the one who loses unless he can prove his position. Now, what's shot in the case with the animal where you found the needle? So over there we said the halacha is hamayzim mechaber el v'raya. It says the Gemara, we mean to say hamayzim mechaber el v'raya is that since suffix was found in the rishus of the butcher who bought the animal, the butcher is the one who loses. Why are you calling that hamayzim mechaber el v'raya? Because in 99% of the cases, you don't get the animal until you give the money. So therefore, the butcher gave the money already. Since he gave the money, he's the mitzi. He wants to get it back. Hamayzim mechaber el v'raya says the butcher loses, and that's because the suffix was born in his rishus. Now, we have one more halacha before we finish the daf. We had seen that the Chachamim said in the Mishnah that a hidden mum that people can't see, that's where we have this whole discussion. So the Gemara says, I just want to tell you that the epilepsy disease is considered a hidden mum. Even though it happens in public, she could avoid going out into public during the time when a seizure might occur. So Gemara says that's only true if there's a set time which a seizure could occur. If the seizure could happen anytime without warning, she can't avoid being caught with that in public, and therefore it's considered to be a revealed mum.